After watching this, your perspective on women will change. Most men don't realise this, but the woman sitting across from you at dinner tonight has almost nothing in common with the woman your grandfather married. Not just culturally or technologically. I'm talking about fundamental behavioural patterns, expectations, and capabilities. The software has been completely rewritten, but most men are still running compatibility mode from 1955. Let me show you what's actually happening and why your frustration isn't imaginary. You're not crazy, you're just awake. Here's a simple test that'll prove my point. Ask any woman under 40 to make a meal from scratch without looking at her phone. Not a gourmet meal, just basic chicken, rice, vegetables. Watch what happens. Panic. I don't know how. That's not my thing. Now ask her about her expectations for a man. 6 figures, 6 feet, emotional availability, leadership, provision, protection. The imbalance isn't subtle anymore. It's grotesque. Is observable everywhere. Social media convinced every woman she's a queen deserving of worship just for existing. Not for being exceptional. Not for contributing value. Just for being. They've been told they're prizes to be won, not partners to build. The decline in traditional traits isn't about wanting women barefoot in kitchens. It's about basic adult competence disappearing while expectations skyrocket. My grandfather's generation? Those women could manage households, raise children, stretch budgets, create meals from nothing. Today, many can't boil water but expect you to be Gordon Ramsay, their therapist, and Warren Buffett combined. I counselled a successful businessman recently. His girlfriend of 2 years couldn't cook, wouldn't clean, had no maternal instincts, contributed nothing financially. But she had a detailed list of what he wasn't providing emotionally. She literally brought nothing to the table except complaints about the table. When he pointed this out, she called him toxic and stuck in the past. This rising sense of entitlement with the result: women who genuinely believe their presence alone is sufficient contribution to a relationship. A client showed me his ex's dating profile after their breakup. She listed her requirements. Over 6 feet 2 inches, makes $150,000 plus, owns property, no kids, willing to travel. Her offerings: good vibes and sarcasm. She's 35, in debt, can't cook, has 2 kids from different fathers. But in her mind, she's the catch. This isn't delusional confidence, it's societal programming gone haywire. Men today face an impossible choice. Adjust standards, accept reality, or stay alone. You can raise your standards, but good luck finding someone who meets them. You can lower them, but how low can you go before you're basically dating a dependent teenager? Or you can accept reality and strategically navigate it, which is what I recommend, though it's not without costs. The emotional volatility in modern relationships is exhausting. Previous generations of women had emotional regulation. They understood that feelings weren't facts. Now, every emotion is valid, every mood must be accommodated, every feeling requires immediate attention. You're not dating a partner, you're managing a permanent emotional crisis that considers stability boring. I watched a couple at a restaurant last week. She was upset because he was too quiet. He was quiet because she'd been angry about something different an hour earlier. She created the problem, blamed him for reacting to it, then got more upset when he pointed out the pattern. This circular emotional chaos is now considered normal relationship dynamics. The strategic expectation management approach is survival mode for modern men. You learn to expect nothing to avoid disappointment. Assume she won't cook, won't clean, won't contribute. Then occasionally being wrong becomes a pleasant surprise rather than constantly being disappointed by unmet reasonable expectations. It's psychological self-defense. But here's the danger. When you lower expectations too far, you enable incompetence. A client started doing everything himself because asking his wife to contribute led to fights. 5 years later, she literally couldn't function as an adult. He'd created a grown child, not a partner. When he finally demanded change, she left him for being controlling. The accountability and responsibility gap is massive. Modern women have been taught that expecting anything from them is oppression. Cook dinner? Sexist? Clean the house you both live in? Patriarchy? Contribute financially? Not their job. But expecting men to do everything? That's just knowing your worth. The core challenge isn't getting them to contribute. It's getting them to see that contribution is part of adult relationships. They've been programmed to believe relationships are about what they receive, not what they give. The concept of reciprocal value exchange has been deleted from their operating system. I see the long-term risks of lowered expectations constantly. Men who've accepted bare minimum for so long, they've forgotten what a real partnership looks like. They're grateful for crumbs of affection, excited by minimal effort, thankful for basic adult behaviour. They've been conditioned to expect so little that dysfunction seems normal. The respect erosion that follows is predictable. She loses respect for you because you accept unacceptable behaviour. You lose self-respect for accepting it. The relationship becomes two people who don't respect each other, staying together from habit and fear rather than love. It's not a partnership, it's mutual dysfunction enabling. Maintaining respect and equality requires constant boundary enforcement. But modern women have been taught that boundaries are control, standards are oppression, and expectations are toxic masculinity. Try to establish basic requirements and watch them flip the script. Suddenly, you're the problem for having standards. The appreciation factor is telling. Previous generations of women appreciated provision, protection, leadership. They understood the weight men carried. Now, your efforts are expected but not appreciated. Work 60 hours to provide. That's bare minimum. Fix everything around the house. That's your job. But ask her to make dinner. Revolutionary War. I had a client whose wife hadn't worked in 8 years, living entirely off his income. He asked her to handle grocery shopping since she had free time. Her response? "I'm not your servant." The woman who contributed nothing financially thought buying food with his money was servitude. The entitlement defies logic. The adaptive relationship strategies required today are exhausting. You need to be traditional when it benefits her, modern when it benefits her, provider when she wants security, feminist when she wants freedom, strong when she needs protection, vulnerable when she wants emotional connection. The requirements change hourly based on her mood. The balance of masculine and feminine roles has been completely destroyed. Women want masculine outcomes without masculine behaviour. They want feminine privileges without feminine contributions. They want traditional benefits with modern freedoms. The math doesn't work, but pointing that out makes you the enemy. Understanding these psychological dynamics is crucial for survival. Modern women operate on emotional logic. What feels right is right, regardless of facts. They've been programmed to see their feelings as truth, their desires as rights, their wants as needs. Rational discussion is impossible when someone's operating system runs on pure emotion. A simple example suggests splitting bills based on income percentage. Logical, fair, equitable. Watch the mental gymnastics. But that's not equal. No, making someone who earns 30k pay the same as someone making 100k isn't equal. But logic doesn't matter when the emotion says she shouldn't have to pay. The traditional traits that made relationships work didn't disappear randomly. They were systematically deconstructed. Cooking is oppression. Cleaning is servitude. Child rearing is unpaid labour. But somehow, male provision is still expected. The selective elimination of female responsibilities while maintaining male obligations created this imbalanced dynamic. I see young men completely confused. They're told to respect women who don't respect themselves, support women who won't support them, commit to women who see commitment as possession, provide for women who see provision as minimum requirement. The cognitive dissonance is breaking men's spirits. The quality decline is measurable. Compare basic skills, your grandmother versus modern women. Cooking, cleaning, budgeting, child rearing, emotional regulation, loyalty, supportiveness, not even close. But compare expectations. Your grandmother wanted a good man who worked hard. Modern women want a superhuman who requires nothing. The inverse relationship between quality and demands is staggering. The social programming responsible for this is everywhere. Every movie shows average women deserving extraordinary men. Every show portrays men as incompetent fools saved by superior women. Every article tells women they deserve more while telling men they need to do better. The propaganda is so pervasive it seems normal. Women genuinely believe they're oppressed while living better than 99.9% of humans in history. They have more freedom, opportunity, safety, and support than ever before. Yet they're angrier, more demanding, less satisfied. Because comparison is the thief of joy, and social media ensures they're always comparing up. The practical reality for men is stark. You can either accept modern dysfunction or stay alone. Most women under 40 have been irreversibly programmed with these entitled mindsets. Finding exceptions requires extensive vetting, clear boundaries, and willingness to walk away from most prospects. The numbers aren't in your favour, The compromise many men make is strategic incompetence acceptance. You accept she won't cook but expect her to work. Accept she won't clean but expect her to pay half. Accept she won't be supportive but don't provide emotional labour. Match energy, match effort, match investment. It's not ideal, but it's survivable. The respect test is simple. Does she add value or extract it? Not just financially, emotionally, practically, socially. Does your life improve with her presence, or just become more complicated? Most men, if honest, would admit their relationships are net negatives. They give more than they get, always. The masculine burden has increased while feminine contribution decreased. You're still expected to provide, protect, lead, initiate, plan, fix, carry, support. But what's the reciprocal expectation? Don't be toxic. That's it. The entire female contribution has been reduced to just showing up and not being actively hostile. I counsel men whose wives contribute nothing, literally nothing, yet still complain about inequality. They don't work, don't cook, don't clean, kids are in school, but somehow they're still oppressed victims of patriarchy. The mental gymnastics required to maintain this narrative while living entirely off male labour is Olympic level. The awareness gap between what men experience and what society acknowledges is massive. Every man knows modern women aren't what previous generations were, but saying it out loud is heresy. You're supposed to pretend the emperor has clothes while freezing to death. The gaslighting is institutional. The biological reality hasn't changed even though behaviour has. Men are still attracted to femininity, nurturing, supportiveness. Women are still attracted to strength, resources, protection. But modern programming tells women to suppress their nature while maintaining their preferences. They want traditional men while refusing to be traditional women. A client's wife gained 80 pounds, stopped cooking, stopped working, stopped being intimate. When he suggested changes, she accused him of not loving her unconditionally. But her love was completely conditional, on his income, his patience, his acceptance of her deterioration. The one-way street of unconditional love only flows toward women, apparently. The future implications are terrifying. Each generation becomes more entitled, less capable, more demanding. Young women today make millennials look traditional. They can't even maintain attention spans, let alone relationships. They're being raised on TikTok feminism and Disney princess fantasies. The next generation will be completely unmarriageable. The adaptation strategies that work require complete frame control. You set standards and enforce them ruthlessly. She can meet them or leave. No negotiation, no compromise on core requirements. This sounds harsh, but it's the only way to maintain sanity and dignity in modern relationships. The filtering process must be brutal. First sign of entitlement, gone. Can't cook, gone. Won't contribute, gone. Excessive emotional volatility, gone. No accountability, gone. You'll filter out 95%, but the 5% remaining might actually be partners rather than parasites. The appreciation test is crucial. Does she appreciate what you provide or expect it? Does she recognize your efforts or minimize them? Does she reciprocate value or just extract it? If appreciation is absent, respect is impossible. Without respect, love dies. Without love, you're just roommates where one pays all the bills. The modern woman paradox is this. They want traditional male outcomes while providing nothing traditional in return. They want providers while not being nurturers. They want leaders while not being supporters. They want protection while offering no comfort. The math doesn't work, which is why relationships don't work. I watch young men trying to navigate this chaos with sympathy. They're trying to apply grandfather's rules to grandmother's opposite. They're offering traditional male value to women who've been programmed to see it as oppression. They're expecting partnerships from people programmed for parasitism. The truth about declining quality is observable everywhere. Compare your mother to women your age. The competence gap is staggering. Basic adult skills have vanished, but somehow standards have increased inverse to ability. The less they offer, the more they demand. It's economic inflation applied to relationships. The strategic response requires both acceptance and boundaries. Accept that most modern women won't be traditional partners, but maintain boundaries about what you'll tolerate. You can't change the market, but you can choose whether to participate. Sometimes the best move is not to play. The psychological dynamics at play aren't accidental. Consumer culture needs dissatisfied women. Feminism needs angry women. Social media needs comparing women. The entire system depends on women being perpetually unsatisfied, always wanting more, never appreciating what they have. You're fighting against trillion-dollar programming. The balance between acceptance and standards is delicate. Accept too much, you become a doormat. Demand too much, you're alone forever. The key is identifying non-negotiables versus preferences, core values versus nice-to-haves, deal breakers versus annoyances. Most men haven't done this analysis. The masculine-feminine balance in successful relationships still exists, just rarely. When you find a woman who appreciates masculine provision and provides feminine support, it works. But these women are increasingly rare, and they're usually taken early by smart men who recognize their value. The awareness of social programming helps navigate it. When she says something entitled, recognize its programming, not necessarily her core nature. Some women can be deprogrammed through experience and boundaries. Others are too far gone. Learning to distinguish between them saves years of misery. The respect requirement is non-negotiable. If she doesn't respect you, nothing else matters. Respect means appreciating your contribution, acknowledging your sacrifice, supporting your goals. Most modern women have been programmed to see male contribution as baseline expectation rather than something worthy of respect. The practical advice is harsh but necessary. Expect nothing. Appreciate anything. Assume she'll contribute minimally until proven otherwise. This protects you from disappointment while allowing pleasant surprise. It's not cynical. It's pattern recognition based on observable behavior. The relationship dynamics that work require clear leadership. Not domination, leadership. Someone must make decisions, set direction, maintain standards. Modern women say they want equality but lose attraction to men who won't lead. They want to be passengers while complaining about the destination. The long-term view is sobering. Relationships with entitled, incompetent partners don't improve with time. They deteriorate. The entitlement increases, the contribution decreases, the respect evaporates. What starts as tolerable becomes insufferable. What begins as compromise ends as complete capitulation. The selection criteria must be ruthless. Can she cook? Will she clean? Does she contribute? Is she supportive? Does she appreciate? Is she accountable? These aren't preferences, they're requirements. Without them, you're not getting a partner, you're adopting an adult dependent. The modern reality is that many men will need to choose between solitude and dysfunction. For some, solitude is preferable. Peace, freedom, and self-respect beat chaos, obligation, and degradation. It's not giving up. It's choosing mental health over societal expectation. The generational divide is real. Women over 45 often retained some traditional capabilities. Under 35, largely programmed beyond repair. The sweet spot might be 35 to 45, where some competence remains but entitlement isn't complete. But even this demographic is rapidly deteriorating. The truth men need to accept is this: the market has changed, possibly permanently. The women your grandfather could choose from don't exist in meaningful numbers. You're shopping for groceries in a hardware store. Adjusting expectations isn't defeat, it's adaptation to reality. The strategic approach requires both defensive and offensive tactics. Defensively, protect yourself from entitlement, manipulation, and extraction. Offensively, actively filter for quality, maintain standards, and walk away from dysfunction. You're not trying to win every battle, just avoid losing the war. The psychological preparation for modern dating is crucial. Expect entitlement, expect minimal contribution, expect maximum demands. When you encounter differently, you'll be pleasantly surprised. But if you expect traditional women, you'll be constantly disappointed and eventually bitter. The wake-up call for men is recognizing you're not crazy. Your frustration is valid. Your observations are accurate. Women have changed dramatically and not for the better. But society won't acknowledge it, women won't admit it, and you'll be attacked for noticing it. Welcome to the real world. The emotional volatility management requires new skills. Previous generations of men dealt with occasional female emotions. Now it's constant. Every day brings new crises, new dramatics, new reasons she's upset. You become an emotional firefighter, constantly putting out blazes she starts. It's exhausting, and it's designed to be. Tired men are easier to control. The adjustment versus acceptance debate misses the point. It's not about adjusting standards or accepting reality. It's about strategic adaptation. You recognize the market has changed. Adapt your strategies accordingly, but never compromise core values. You can change tactics without changing principles. The complementary roles that once made relationships work have been replaced with competition. Instead of each partner bringing different strengths, modern relationships become power struggles. Who does less housework? Who contributes less financially? Who gets their way more often? It's adversarial by design, and nobody wins. The accountability avoidance is perhaps the most frustrating aspect. Modern women have been taught that accountability equals oppression. Pointing out their failures is shaming. Expecting basic competence is unrealistic standards. Wanting reciprocal effort is transactional. They've been given infinite excuses for zero performance. I counsel men who have been so beaten down by this dynamic, they question their own sanity. They wonder if they're asking too much by expecting dinner occasionally. They feel guilty for wanting a clean home. They apologise for desiring intimacy with their own wives. The psychological damage from accepting unacceptable behaviour is profound. The fairness illusion is what keeps men trapped. They believe if they just give more, she'll eventually reciprocate. If they're just patient enough, understanding enough, supportive enough, she'll become the partner they need. But it never happens. The more you give to an entitled person, the more they expect. It's a bottomless pit. The strength recognition is crucial. Despite what modern culture says, women are still attracted to strength. But they've been programmed to test it constantly, to push boundaries, to see if you'll break. The moment you show weakness, the attraction dies. You're expected to be an unmovable object against an unstoppable force of emotional chaos. The traditional skills that built civilizations, male provision and female nurturing, created stable families and societies. Now we have neither. Men still provide but get no appreciation. Women don't nurture but demand support. The social contract hasn't been renegotiated, it's been shredded, with men still held to the original terms. The genuine partnership possibility still exists, but it requires finding women who've somehow resisted or overcome the programming. They usually have strong fathers, traditional families, or have learned through painful experience that modern relationship dynamics don't work. These women are gold, and they're usually recognised and claimed early by wise men. The strategic filtering must begin immediately. Don't invest months discovering incompetence and entitlement. Test early. Can she cook? Ask her to make dinner. Will she contribute? Suggest splitting costs. Is she accountable? Point out a small mistake and see if she owns it or deflects. These tests save years of misery. The appreciation versus expectation dynamic tells you everything. A woman who appreciates your efforts will reciprocate. One who expects them will only demand more. The difference is obvious once you look for it. Gratitude creates positive cycles. Entitlement creates destructive ones. Choose accordingly. The final truth is this: modern women aren't what they used to be, and that's not changing soon. The question isn't whether this is true, it's what you'll do about it. Will you lower standards to dangerous levels, maintain standards and possibly stay alone, or find the increasingly rare exceptions? The choice is yours, but choose consciously. Your grandfather's marriage isn't available to you. That contract no longer exists. The women who could fulfill it are nearly extinct. You're negotiating new terms in a radically different market. Understanding this isn't pessimism, it's the first step toward making intelligent decisions about your future. The accountability revolution starts with individual men refusing to accept unacceptable behaviour. Every man who maintains standards raises the bar slightly. Every man who walks away from entitlement sends a message. Eventually the market might correct. But even if it doesn't, you've preserved your dignity. The awareness you need isn't just about female behaviour, it's about your own value. You've been programmed to undervalue yourself while overvaluing women. Reverse this. Recognise what you bring. Appreciate your own contribution. Stop apologising for having standards. You're not asking for too much. They're offering too little. I want to hear from you guys. What changes have you noticed in modern women compared to previous generations? What standards have you had to adjust? What behaviours have become deal breakers? Drop your observations in the comments. Let's document this shift honestly, because pretending it isn't happening helps nobody. The truth might be uncomfortable, but living a lie is unbearable.